Server restart in 3, 2, 1.
Alright, well, welcome back. It's Server Restart In. We're a World of Warcraft podcast where we have three opinionated players who get together weekly to discuss current events and the state of the game as it exists. My name is Jim. I'm joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hi.
And this week, we're going to go ahead and discuss something that I didn't know was even in the works. They came out with a new short story called We Ride Forth. And it details the events from, I guess, after the Mak'gora between Sylvanas and Sourfang to the cinematic trailer and the in-game cinematic. What was that one called?
I don't know.
It had a name. It was the one where they take everybody, but with the Lich King explaining stuff. He's just Bolvar now. So that came out, and I read it, and we've all read it, hopefully, in the events to discuss it. And I'm just going to say it was fucking amazing.
Was pretty good.
I enjoyed it. It was funny listening to Jim reading it as I was reading it, because he finished before I did, because he's a faster reader than me. And he was like, that was effing awesome. I mean,
it was fucking awesome.
With more F's in that, but yes.
Effing awesome.
That was effing awesome.
No, it was. I have been a Death Knight player since Death Knights came out, and it really, really resonated with me because it was all fucking Death Knight shit. I mean, that was just everything that's awesome about being a fucking Death Knight. It just basically it gives you a brief synopsis of where all the other races as Death Knights come from. You know, it details him sending out the 4 horsemen, which are somehow his horsemen and not the Death Lord's horsemen. If you remember doing the Death Knight Legion Class Hall campaign, you go and raise them. I guess you're using the Lich King's power, but I thought that you were raising them as your 4 horsemen, not necessarily his. But apparently they were his. And that was just another thing, too, about the story. Is like, there's no mention of the Death Lord. But, it's fine. They don't need to mention me by name.
What's yours is his, by the way.
Yeah, apparently.
You're wed to him.
He's having them go out and collect the bodies of the fallen and putting them in Icecrown, basically on ice, until he needs them. And then when he figures Sylvanas is coming, he raises them, which is why.
He was getting them to make sure they didn't go to the mall.
Right, but he didn't raise them right away. But when he raised them, he also sent them away too. He didn't raise them.
So she couldn't, because yeah.
Right. So that way maybe there would be a chance to defeat her. So he was basically creating an army. He had the Mindless Scourge there in the attempt to defeat her, but he also laid the groundwork for the 4 horsemen and stuff like that to arrive to defeat either her or him after the battle, because he was going full Lich King at that point, tapping into the power of the Helm, which he was afraid would, and rightfully so, afraid would just completely engulf him, and he would no longer be able to hold it back, or she would have the power and be new to it, so new that they could get there right at the time and then defeat her. But that nothing like that happened because she broke the damn thing. So it was a very cool story. I wish it would have come out sooner.
I don't see why it didn't, to be honest.
I don't either. It was very because it bridges that gap, and they've had a lot of things like that have bridged the gaps.
Hell, it could have came out right after BlizzCon last year when they did the announcement. So
yes,
because really there was nothing revealing there. I mean, it was just basically.
I mean, I guess other than the part where they go rescue Bolvar and all that stuff, because that part was in that new cinematic that you see right away when you start
Yeah.
the pre-patch event.
That would have been a good segue into that video, though, I think.
You would have had the knowledge of what's going on, and I think that's a fair complaint that people often have about the game itself, is that there's so much lore and there's so much information out there that's not in the game, like Arathi Highlands.
It's funny though, because I think this would be a great example of how, if you want to read more about it, you can, and if you don't miss anything for for that type of person. They wouldn't miss anything because whatever they need to know to get into the next expansion, they would be explained in a ABC 1, 2, 3 video.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of leave open, like nobody really knew why all the races could be Death Knights at this point. There was speculation that he was raising the army to fight Sylvanas, but really he wasn't. All the Death Knight characters weren't there. He sent them out, which it was odd.
Well, yeah, he was just making sure that she didn't have the power to overthrow anyone. That he was trying to send them out further away. Same with the Four Horsemen, further away from the Frozen Throne, so that
they couldn't be affected as easily.
Right. If she were to don the helmet, whether she could wield it effectively or not, they weren't close enough to be within her grasp.
Yeah, at least
despite the fact that everything that everything that it was setting up was completely wrong, and he had no idea she was gonna blow a hole in it.
I thought he was setting them up to come and get him.
He set up the Four Horsemen,
right,
to show up at the end of the battle.
Yeah.
The other Death Knights weren't set up that way. Now, he was bolstering the ranks of the Ebon Blade.
Well, was he turning them into Death Knights, or was he turning them into Scourge? Because I thought he was just doing Scourge. Because
he was sprinkling Scourge to help stop her.
Right.
Because he thought that she was just coming for the.
I don't think he created the Helm. I don't think
Helm, yes.
I don't think he created a new Scourge. I think he was summoning the Scourge to Icecrown. He was bringing the mindless Scourge back, but he was raising intelligent Death Knights to send out, so that way there would be a force out there to stand against Sylvanas should she win. Or stand.
Nope.
No.
It says in there that he was trying to. They were trying to make sure they didn't piss off the other
Juan Samdi and all that stuff by stealing the dead.
Right. But he was trying to make sure that they weren't going to the other side because of what was brewing.
Right.
And then he thought that she was coming to take the helm, so that's why he had the Four Horsemen, or he wouldn't tell Mograine, and then it left them the ability to overtake her at the point at which she was supposed to don the helm. And then obviously that wasn't the case. So,
so I guess, intentionally he was keeping the souls from going over to prevent them from having the power. But I guess a secondary effect of that was there would be a substantial force of not mindless Death Knights.
No, yeah, that's fair too.
So if they were unable to defeat, at least they could, like they did in Lich King, form a resistance. Because the Knights of the Ebon Blade were a resistance faction of Death Knights that wrestled control, away from the Lich King. Now, whether or not they were ever completely free of the control, obviously it doesn't seem like that's the case. Because they were still affected by the presence, which is, I guess, the Helm's controlling thing, or whatever that they called it. So, I mean, there was that. So I guess Death Knights were never truly free until the helm was destroyed.
Well, what's interesting is that it kind of, the undertone in the parts where it talks about his control over Mograine, and his presence in the other horsemen, I mean, it suggests how powerful Sylvanas actually is, because the Four Horsemen would be on the Death Lord's level powerful, right? As you know what I mean, a higher ranking Death Knight or whatever it may be.
Yes.
And then the Lich King is just, with a snap of the finger, Bolvar had control over Mograine, right? So that's substantially more power.
Not only
and
that,
then Sylvanas just comes and
right.
and snares him and then rips his hat in half. So
Well, not only that, but if you think about it, Bolvar did that while still encased in ice and not fully tapped into the power of the Lich King. And that was another fucking cool scene.
Okay, so that's a good point. So there's a chance that like unless that was his blue going to, or no, it was orange going to blue. Was that him tapping into some of the Lich King's power? Maybe.
I think that was him opening the floodgates and just
all the way.
Yes, because that was their concern, was that was the point of no return. He was fully allowing the power from the helm to engulf him to put up some sort of fight, because he probably sensed power and all that stuff. I don't know if he knew she was working with him. I think.
Oh yeah, because they were like the horsemen were freaking out about what was happening, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Yeah,
that's when the helm split.
But I mean, it does give a lot of. I mean, it raises a lot more questions, I think, than it answers, as far as what's going on, and who because he's. Was it in there that he mentioned something about the other power on the other side, or is that like leaked in-game text or something like that Bolvar is talking about? That might be.
I feel like there was something, but I don't recall now.
I don't either. But it was really great when they were talking about how she was defeated and all that stuff, and he basically is like, is she acting like she's defeated?
Right.
And stuff like that. That was like, yeah.
Jim was like, yeah, that's my baby.
Yeah.
No, it was good. I liked it.
It was a nice surprise, and I don't know how many people saw it. Like, the only reason I saw it was going to look to see if there were any hot fixes, and it was on the news page. And I was like, oh, holy shit, a new short story? I didn't even know it was in the works. It's just there, and I'm like, well, fuck yeah. And then I download it and I go, why the hell can't they just name the goddamn PDF the title of the fucking thing? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, and I start rattling off like the letters and numbers. And then it's just like random shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, no, it was good. They did a good job of even hiding Bolvar's intentions in the story. Despite the fact that we know the outcome, right? It kind of sets you up for like why this expansion exists, outside of Sylvanas's motivations. Because in the end, now it's let's recruit some help and go kick some ass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't know, reading this and then reading, was it Shadows Rising? Like, if I had to compare the two, this one I would just rank way higher. Like, this one just felt way better. I don't know if because it was short and just it was just so packed full of stuff, or if it was just the style, or if it was just because it was Death Knights.
That's what I was gonna say. Is you have to keep in mind the content was right up your alley because you love the Death Knights.
I love the Death Knights, but I also like just lore stuff.
Yeah,
and it's just.
I don't like how many stories Shadows Rising was trying to tell at the same time. I think that's one of the crux of the World of Warcraft storybooks that come out is that there's not enough of them that come out. So the one tells so many fucking stories.
Right.
It's like I don't know. It's annoying. What I really wish they would do is have either have some more smaller films or animations or something.
They need a WoW TV show.
I mean, honestly, if they had some
Disney
episodic
Plus
type animation,
yeah,
even if it was just served under their, own flag and not on some Netflix.
Well, we had some technical difficulties, so I believe we were talking about, potentially having some like short film or episodic type film stuff.
Yeah, something to help
Flesh out.
lessen the
The
stupidity
voids.
around having so many stories in one book,
Well,
or just help tell the story. I don't know, something like that.
I think that's a common writing style, especially since like Game of Thrones kind of stuff.
Right.
You have key figures and you're jumping around, back and forth between what's going on in different parts when something's that big. But you're right. If they could focus on something small, like, it would make a really good story. And I think they had a little bit of this in the book before BFA, but The Goblin and the Gnome.
Oh, I loved that. That was so adorable.
If
Yeah.
they would do just like the adventures of those guys or something like that, fucking bestseller. Because
It was actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then the fact that you go see them in game and all that stuff, that's cool too. And you get the bird mount and whatnot, the mechanical bird, whatever the hell it's called. But yeah, that's like stuff like that. Like, get away from some of the big stuff. Like, leave the book and the lore for just like the books and like the stories and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, they want to have like some major stuff like that, but put more of that in the game and take, smaller side characters and stuff like that. Not that long ago, there was that Humble Bundle with a lot of the WoW story stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
and I
yeah.
think they
Yeah.
had the WoW
books.
Legend stuff. Mostly they were comics. There were
Mhm.
some books and stuff in there. It wasn't the main stories. Like, I don't think Rise of the Horde was in there,
Yeah, no.
or the one with the Dragon Soul and Alexstrasza and the Dragon Maw clan and all that stuff. Whatever the hell that one was called, I forget. But there was I think it was Legends. They had one about a Tauren who was undead, and he felt the draw to go to Icecrown, and he was. Oh, we fucking lost Brian again. And we're back, finally. We had more technical difficulties, so we might
Discord.
be a little bit disjointed to this week. But yeah, so we were talking about, or I was talking about one of the short comics that ran through a couple of the episodes of the Legends comic or short story comic graphic novel things. And it was a Tauren who went, and he ends up in Icecrown, and he tries to kill the Lich King. Obviously, he fails, but he's at the Argent tournament, and he's a member of the High Mountain clan. He's not a High Mountain Tauren, but he's a member of the High Mountain clan, because I believe, which is weird. So I think before they made them an ally race or whatever, but just stuff like that, like side stories that don't really have any bearing on the game, but are pretty cool.
They kind of widen the world a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not just looking at these main characters, you're looking at some of the characters out in the world too. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Things are it was a good story, right? And especially I think it really helped fuel my anticipation for Monday evening when the expansion goes live. The Scourge event stuff that's going on and right now, even with them adding the actual like zombie stuff, it's like not really that.
You don't. If you just stay in Icecrown to farm rares, you don't even experience the rest of the patch.
That is not true, because Red.
I haven't seen it yet.
No. Red was doing
People
Bronze
bring it
Jam
to
for the
you.
bag. Somebody brought it there and then blew up and killed people and turned them into zombies and shit like that at the fucking rare for the bag.
Oh, that's messed up.
That is messed up. It's fucking asinine. It's hilarious in one aspect, but asinine in another. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even realize you could fucking do that. But I mean, there's a portal right there to ICC. You just pick up the plug, boom, and Bronze Jam's right there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. People are farming rares and gearing up alts, and it's not as easy as it was in Legion. Or
It's fun.
The Legion. No, it's fun too, because in Legion you didn't have to be max level to participate,
Right.
and so I mean, I guess with the Scourge invasion stuff, you don't have to be, but there's no reward for becoming a zombie and doing all that stuff. I don't think you can even do the quest line to do any of that stuff. So you can't get the achievement if you just happen to not have a max level character or the feat of strength or whatever. Even though you're participating in it. So I don't know.
I don't know. It's been
it's
pretty uneventful patch, Like the first day that it dropped, Jim and I went to go do the Scourge stuff and get turned into zombies. And it wasn't really any fun. Like, we did it and we were trying to, like, bring it to but we kept dying. And then when you die, you get ported to the furthest away ever
Valley of Wisdom?
Spirit healer.
The Tauren.
And
the
you
Tauren
can't
zone.
fly to get back. Even though they're flying in that zone, you can't fly to get back.
Well, you've never had a flying death mount in that zone.
Yeah, but I mean...
So unless you died nearby, it took a while to get back.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing you have to do is you go out, get the plague, bring it back, and if you drop off your mount and die, you turn into a ghoul, and then you can, like, explode and get a bunch of people and turn them into it. I don't know. It's,
But it seemed more work than it was worth, So,
to
like,
get the plague, or
yeah, like,
well, just to do it for any length of time, because it was just there's no reward from it, and it's
so where do they spawn at? Do they spawn anywhere?
so well. There's a bunch of them usually at the entrance to Orgrimmar from Ashara.
yeah,
Like,
There's
I
a
went
crap
out there
ton.
one time, and it was just like there was
yeah.
50 to 100
Massive.
easy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I starfalled, which was not a smart thing to do. Because they're all in combat.
It's not. They
Yeah,
are? Oh.
they're all in combat. So they all immediately came for me because Starfall doesn't affect people if they're not in combat. But if they are in combat, whether or not they're in combat with you, doesn't matter. If they're in combat and they get hit by your Starfall, they're going to take damage. So, yeah. So that I was like, oof, I made a mistake.
Mistakes were made.
Yes, they were.
But I mean, it's okay. It's like it doesn't really have the same feel that the one for Wrath of the Lich King did. But again, you're also talking 12 years ago. I may not necessarily remember that exactly. I remember zombie stuff, but most of the stuff I remember was outside of Undercity because I think at the time I was around that area. I don't know. It's
I just remember going to Ashara on the beach in Ashara at the time and seeing the floating whatever they're called,
the necropolises or whatever.
Yeah, dusting the area and people were fighting and stuff was spawning. Yeah, I remember that, but that's about it.
Yeah, I remember a little bit of it, but
and it dropped like crappy purple gear that was like I don't know what it was on par for. Most likely the tournament item level, because that was pretty popular for a while.
What tournament?
When the tournament,
Not the tournament of the Crusaders, right?
Yes, whenever that came out before the Lich King raid was released, that's when the first raid level badge gear came out or something like that.
But are you talking about the Lich King pre-patch? Because Trial of the Crusader was at the end of Lich King, so it couldn't have been gear on par with that.
Oh gosh, yeah, what am I talking about? Yeah, it would have been gear on par with BC raids.
Yeah. I'm confused. I'm like, was there a second invasion?
I'm getting ahead of myself there.
Yeah, I think maybe Sunwell. Wasn't Sunwell the last raid?
Yeah, Sunwell was.
So it'd probably be...
I don't think it was that high. I think
I don't either.
From what I remember, it was like crappy gear.
Well, I guess, yeah, they didn't have the raid levels that they do now.
And Sunwell at that point was still a pretty prestigious raid as far as people doing it, and they wanted to keep that. So I remember the people who had the Sunwell gear, like, they didn't have a lot of stuff to do. It took forever for them to, I think they almost went to max level with their gear in the expansion and leveling up. Like, their gear
It took a
was
while
so
to replace their
good.
gear.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I wish that was still the case.
Well, I think I had crafted the two-handed mace for blacksmithing. So the dungeon gear, or I think the normal dungeon gear for Lich King was like 187, and that two-handed mace was like 145
Yeah.
in comparison. So, and they did have item level. You just had to use an add-on to
Yeah.
show it. But yeah, no, it's almost over. That's all that matters.
I mean,
I'm glad it was only
2 weeks. Yeah.
weeks. Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting. It just didn't feel like a big deal.
None of
I
it
will say
feels like
the
a
one
big
thing it
deal.
did do that I'm happy about is pull me out of the context of BFA.
Yeah.
I think sitting in Ice Crown for the last week and a half has been like refreshing.
Well, I think we talked about this last week too. When we flew out to Ice Crown, I'm like, man, do you remember just being out here
the
at
memories.
the end of Lich King? It's just like, I like that zone
Yeah,
so
I do
much.
Too.
It feels so big, and it's just like you can fly all over the place, and then like it changes. It's like you got the carved out areas with the spires coming out into them, and you got like the little nooks and crannies. You have the Tournament of the Crusader. You have the Vrykul like burial areas where they all are. You have those towns sprinkled about. You have like the little
well, even the Scourge harvesting areas and stuff. Like,
yeah.
I remember doing quests there, but I don't remember the context of a lot of them. And I'm like, damn, I should go back and play these.
Man, before BFA, I think. Yes, before BFA, I was doing some stuff out there, and I was doing the quest where you find the piece of Arthas's heart. You know how he cast it down that well beneath Ice Crown or whatever, and you do that quest to go down, and it's a little boy ghost of him.
Mm-hmm.
You vaguely remember that at all?
Yes.
So
Because you portal into it, don't you?
you jump down the pit and end up down there.
I think so. I think I do.
In fact, I think it's right under the stairs to Ice Crown, like under where Lady Death Whisper is spawning right now. There's a pit you go down. Anyway, I went down there, and there's Faceless One mobs, and when I went down there, they were different. So I knew that they were getting, like, those models had been updated. And I was like, oh, there's some old god shit going on, because deep down below Ice Crown and all that stuff, you're closer to the old god stuff, like N'Zoth and all his whispers and all that kind of shit are tied into like that kind of stuff, because they're at the end of Jol Narub or Old Kingdom.
I don't know. Are you talking dungeon or raid?
Yes, dungeon.
Okay.
Both of those are dungeons.
What are you talking
Well,
about?
you fight the 3 faceless ones before you fight the big dude that fears you, or that does like the paranoia thing, and you have to fight the other people.
That says.
I think it says Jol Narub.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But it's like there is a tie to the old ones, and when they changed that, I knew that there was going to be something with the old god stuff in that expansion. And it was pretty neat. You got to see. And I don't know if they intended for those mobs to be changed, but it's kind of like how at the beginning of Legion, people that were still running ICC for transmogs noticed the new Tyrion.
Oh, yeah.
Because his model changed, and I think if you clicked on him, he had different
dialogue.
Yeah. Which was like kind of spoilery.
Yeah, it was.
So are you saying they just changed the Faceless Ones models?
Yeah, they updated them for the new ones that were going to be in BFA and all that stuff, which is pretty neat. I haven't seen anything like that. Well, obviously, because none of the mobs that they're going to update are mobs from Azeroth, or Outland or any of that stuff. So, I mean,
you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't. But, it's just neat to kind of see what's changed. But yeah, being an Ice Crown, like you said, has been it's a nice change. You're out of the Golden Hall of Dazar lore. You're not sitting out there waiting to go do something, looking out over the jungles. You're back in the frozen north, fighting the Scourge like we did all those years ago. But yeah, Monday night, we're going to start this shit, right?
Yeah.
Monday night at 5?
6 or 7. I don't know.
Hey, it's 6. Yeah, I think it's 6 o'clock.
I'm not as excited about it as I have been in the past for X-Packs. Just the thought of leveling, I'm like, mean, we have 2 weeks until raid and blah blah blah. But...
Yeah, but I mean, we're leveling, and it's 10 levels, which it's kind of been 10 levels anyway.
Mhm.
But 2-3 days maybe,
Yeah.
and then start doing some dungeons to maybe get some gear. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I was reading a post on the Blizzard thing about the crafting and the changes to crafting, and how blacksmiths are going to be able to make sharpening stones again. That'll give you weapon enchants. They changed leather armor kits that will allow you to put a stamina buff on a chest piece for 2 hours. So it's they're consumables. Spellfire oil, I think, and stuff like that are coming back. And they also said that some of those alchemy things for weapons are going to have interactions with other things, and it'll be like in the tooltip, so you can have like weird combos and shit like that. So they're giving most classes, I don't know if Claw's going to have anything, but they're giving most classes or most professions something else to do. And that's in addition to being able to craft things at different item levels with those items, plus put in other things to give them certain stats. So you can target stats on items. And I know if you look in the thing now, anybody that's got like armor or weapon crafting will be able to make them for different level brackets. So you could go find something that's like classic level, item level stuff, but make it for like level 50 and use that to level. And I don't know, the effects should still be in play.
So what I'm hearing is I'm going to need an add-on to min-max all the various effects to make my character.
It'll be built. I'm sure it'll be built into the raid bots or whatever.
The best possible.
I don't know if it's going to be that
character.
much of a. If it's going to be. This is min-maxing, or if it's just going to be flavor, or if it's going to be.
Well, if there's any kind of.
I don't know what the benefits are. I didn't really like dig that deep into it. It's just nice to see them giving professions something to do other than level up and then make gear that's going to be outdated. Because the last piece of gear you could craft as a blacksmith that you could wear was in Najdatar. After doing all the dungeon stuff, and you could make a max level piece of gear that was pretty decent for a while until Nyalotha came out, and then it was just kind of like, and it's just like, but it was also BOP, so you made it for yourself. You couldn't even sell it.
Yeah, see, that's
like,
the stuff that I wish that they didn't do, is make it like BOP. Like,
crafting is just so pointless unless it's alchemy or cooking.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of grateful that they're giving me more stuff to do with alchemy. That's good, because, I mean, that's my main character is herbalism and alchemy, because raiding and...
Right. I think it's nice for them to make a change to it, try and make it more engaging and more lucrative even, because armor kits haven't been a thing really for a long time.
Yeah.
From leather workers.
They
But
took them out, didn't they?
What?
They take them out?
No, I think they're still there. I don't remember.
Because they used to give like
armor bonuses
for that, right?
I think they gave you armor bonus.
They used to get like crit and something else for putting stuff on your legs some years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could put them on different pieces. I don't think it was just... I think you could have one on like the main pieces, like chest, legs, gloves, shoulders, or something like that.
Yeah, those are the crappy low-level stuff, but then there was like the typical raid.
Oh, yeah. It was basically like a leg
enchant,
enchant, yeah.
See, I kind of wish they would do stuff like that for each of the... Right? So, if you're a leather wearer, you get a leather kit, right? If you're a cloth wearer, you get the equivalent from tailoring. If you're a plate wearer, you get the equivalent from blacksmithing, right? I guess mail would also be leather.
Mail is halfway leather, halfway blacksmithing.
Yeah. But I mean, you could put it under leather because that's where mail usually is anyway. They have it all under leather working.
Well, what do you mean?
No, they
Like,
have
what would
some
you get
under
from it?
blacksmith.
Oh, they do have some, what?
What do you mean? What would you get from it?
Well, that like, so you know how they have the leather kits, the leather armor kits. Well, then you make blacksmithing armor kits. So
plate armor kits.
plate armor kits, you
so
know.
that each profession for that type of armor
Yeah,
can make something. So like
right.
that way the leather workers aren't the only ones making those type of things for
That makes sense.
every
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it would just like reinforced, you know, like
I wish they would do something like that. That's kind of like sharpening stones, where you would just buff it for a temporary time.
well, that's the leather kit. It gives you a stamina buff on your chest for 2 hours. It's not permanent.
Right.
Oh,
So that again allows you to keep making them and keep selling them. The market doesn't fall out because either a better enchant comes out. Now I don't know if it's a temporary buff on your thing or if it can I don't think it would impact or conflict is the word I was looking for with like enchantments. So being able to use that plus have an enchantment on your chest and all that stuff.
that might get annoying. Having
Yeah.
to put an armor piece on to
Yeah.
your weapon.
Well, I would imagine that the leather armor kit, they specifically said chest piece, meaning to me it would be just a click and it applies it. You don't have to like click on your armor piece. and all
No.
that
What I meant was like when you're in a raid, the
Yeah.
2 hours is up. Then you got a pot. Then you got a
Mhm.
chest piece, and then you got a weapon piece.
Well, it's stamina, so I mean, it's not like a DPS thing.
Yeah.
it might-
I'm
you
not
know-
complaining about it.
Right,
I'm just
right.
saying that like
Definitely
there's going to be
help
that
with
balance there.
progression,
It's
though.
like the whole pot
Sure.
situation where
Yeah.
people don't want to carry 500 mana pots, and then so we nerfed it to be what one
I know. I hate it.
every 2 minutes,
I
not in
miss
combat.
pre-potting and
Well, pre-potting's gone because now it's just a timer. It's like a
Yeah.
5-minute timer.
No, I meant like I miss carrying around 50 pots
oh,
for healing.
I always
No, you
carry
don't.
around.
I do actually.
I carry around a bazillion pots like all the time. Like it's terrible. My bag spaces can't handle it.
I think that was the difference between the action MMO versus the RPG MMO, where like when we got ready for raids back in the day, like especially being a paladin during BC, you had to prep quite a bit for healing. So
Mhm.
you had to get all the reagents for your kings and wisdom buffs.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Greater blessings. That's what it was. As well as the divine intervention reagents, and then you had to gather up
I don't
all
miss
the
that.
mana pots you could get.
I do not miss having to have reagents for buffs at all.
But candles and feathers and all that
Yes.
shit.
Yeah.
I do not miss that.
It's funny because it's a neat thing about being in an RPG, but at the same time, it's a bigger inconvenience in this type of game.
Yeah.
So
Well, especially when the game kept progressing more towards being oriented towards like the fast action combat style, right? Where, you know, everything, like the pace quickened. And so having to have all that stuff was a pain in the ass because you would blow through it so fast. Right? You know, where maybe that's not quite it. I don't know. It just, I can kind of see how it used to not be as big a deal, but like as it progressed on, having to do all that stuff, because like, didn't warlocks have nothing but bags full of soul shards
Yes.
so they could summon people
Yes. Absolutely.
for fucking raids? But
Yes.
like that's like all they ever fucking had in their bags.
Yes.
I mean, it was so prolific back then that they still had up until, I don't know if it was Lich King or Cataclysm, they still had bags specifically for mats. You had your herbalism bag, your mining bags, your soul shard bags, and all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
that had extra slots, but they could only hold that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy. Like that's gone as a thing, you know?
I mean, thank God that's gone as a thing because I was a warlock in BC and that was my main. And I had to go out. I remember going out Shadow Moon Valley the Wildhammer place, going out and farming the infernals in front of it to get soul shards from them and filling my bags with soul shards to summon people. And
Lazy assholes.
oh, yeah, right? Seriously. If I have to fly out there, you should too. Like, ugh.
No, at this point, I think it's I don't think I would have it any other way, just because my playstyle has adapted to more of a jump on, do a little bit, jump off type thing, rather than actually be invested. So,
Well, yeah, and that's just it. That made it so that you couldn't just jump on and do it. You actually had to do
You had to prep.
work.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what people, like new players and stuff like that, don't have necessarily have an appreciation for. Not that it's not something worth being appreciated, I guess, but I mean, it's just, that was a way of life. You logged in to do, people always complain, it's like, I log in, do my dailies, got to do my chores and all that stuff. It's like, dailies are not chores compared to mat farming for that kind of stuff way back when. It's like, that was a fucking chore. You logged in and you had to spend time to do that so that you could do your raids and all that stuff and be effective.
I don't know. Dailies do still feel like chores, though.
They feel like chores, but they're like not hard chores. You log in and you go do your quest and then they're done. It's just like
dailies need to be deleted.
Yeah.
Eh.
I like the world quest.
Dailies only exist because people couldn't make money, so.
Yeah.
They give you a decent way to get rep in some instances.
Well, that's kind of stupid too.
Yeah, the rep grind is. Well, I mean, to be fair though, I almost would take. I don't like the way that they gate it, but I would take dailies for rep over. Do you remember the Argent Dawn grind with the Scourge Stones and having to turn those in? Holy effing crap!
You mean like you have
sucked.
to do now for the Argent Crusade? That's a rep grind. You get rep every time you turn those in.
In the yeah.
But yeah, you had to have the trinket
to be able to enter Nax when it first came out. Not Wrath Nax, but the original. Oh, okay, but the original Nax, you had to have. I don't remember what the rep requirement was, but you had to farm rep.
The attunement for that's happening in Classic right now.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Yeah, and you had to go and do, and that sucked because it was just endless grinding over and over and over again. So I like the fact that you can log on and do dailies to, I mean, maybe just supplement it, but I don't like the way that they gate it.
You want to talk?
Yeah, I think that reps are an outdated practice that just helps them reassure replayability for the game.
Oh yeah.
And I think that they probably will not touch it just because of that. That's kind of a fail-safe for them.
Oh
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I still hate them, and I still think they need to be touched on.
I remember flying around in what zone is Uldor? In Storm Peaks, the Sons of Hodor area. Flying around to get those fucking snow chips or whatever.
Oh my god, yes.
The rune things or whatever?
Like the little snow
chips.
like the little ice things that would stick up
Yep.
that you could turn in for Sons of Hodor rep.
Yep.
And they were like snow chips or ice chips or something like that.
I remember.
And they were like little stalactites.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, because you
or
could farm
mice.
them in you could farm them at the very top of Storm Peaks.
Mhm.
There's a little spot where the earthen are, the earthen dwarves.
Oh, right, yes.
If you were to go right behind their thing, there was an area where they were unearthing like golems and stuff. And there's a huge farm area. You could go there and farm those.
But I think that's right by where the quartermaster was, right? Because that was where I did it.
Quartermaster was down in the middle of Storm Peaks. This is way up north.
I don't remember them ever being up there. I was never up there for that. I was always the area.
No, so I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. But these dropped off of the mobs there.
Oh no.
No, this was not. This was a world thing, and this is what you had to. You're talking the relics of Uldor.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, those things. Yeah, I know what you're talking
That's
about.
not what you're talking about?
No.
No, these were like nodes that would spawn, and this was before you could do relics of Ulduar to turn in for
Yep.
rep for Sons of Hodor.
Yeah.
I forget what the fuck they were called, but like in that area around where that dude was, like if you flew towards him and to the right, there was the elemental things, and to the left was like other things, and then there was worms and stuff around it. But you would fly around and look for these little ice pillar things. And then,
Everfrost chip.
yes,
That was it. Yes.
my
Yes.
God.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
I
my
did
God.
that so goddamn much.
Yeah.
That was a fucking grind because they were
You could
first
hardly
come,
see them.
first come, first serve. They were hard to see because they blended in.
Yeah.
And you just
Were they like the bright blue ones?
they were like little white spikes in the ground.
Yeah.
And you had to just fly around and hope that nobody else was doing it and try to find it. It was whew.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pain.
And
I
then
only remember the stacks of whatever you could
yeah, I
have.
want to say that those weren't turnable, or you couldn't turn those in for rep until later. I think they added that in towards the end. I could be wrong though.
What, the
know.
relics?
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that is right.
I don't remember what they were used for. Before.
All I know is that I know that's how I got my mammoth. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, that's
Yeah.
an ugly.
Yeah.
Are you looking at a chip?
Yeah. Okay. So it started as a quest, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could. It was a repeatable quest.
Yep.
That you could turn in, but it was. Oh yeah. Oh,
A pain in the butt.
yes.
Yes.
it says somebody said it's the Netherwing egg for the Sons of Uldir.
Yeah.
Did
So
you ever do the Netherwing?
Yes.
I went back and did it.
Oh, it was terrible. At
Oh,
the time.
I
Oh
did
my
it when
God.
it was, at the time.
Oh, and then oh my God, and then having to do that fucking race.
Yeah.
Yes,
the race.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a pain in the ass. Was that even for anything, or was that just a quest?
I think you probably got rep for it.
Yeah. Was it one of the dailies you
Was
had to do
it-
out there?
It might have been a daily for rep,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't remember.
I don't
It
know.
was
I
a
did,
really long time ago that I did it. I was so proud of myself when I did it, though. I was so happy. And that was back in BC.
well,
Yeah.
it wasn't
So,
for me because I did
yeah.
all that shit on my death night.
Yeah.
I went back and did
Well,
all
that's what I remember going to the purple zone. What was that called?
Shadow Moon.
the one.
No, the other one. Nether.
Oh,
Is that
Netherstorm.
Nether. Netherstorm. Yes,
Netherstorm.
because there was a spot where you could farm Nether.
Yeah, you could go into the mine and grab them
Dragon.
out of the
Or
cart.
another wing
Yes.
eggs.
Yes. I spent a lot of time farming them in there. Yep.
Mhm.
They would spawn like in the carts and stuff. And yep.
Or the
That was so bad.
Arakoa rep.
Yep.
That was a pain in the ass too. You could farm it off of something. I forget what the fuck
Was
that
it
was.
the
shadow
area above
dust.
Alcadon?
The Sethix, the shadow dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they weren't Arakoa. They were Sethric or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had like a little village or whatever over there.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's God, what else was a grind? Farming that fucking sea turtle.
Not a grind for anybody else but you.
It took me. I was fishing every day for a month straight, minimum of 4 hours to get that fucking thing.
I got it on my first cast.
Yeah, I was fucking pissed. She got it, and I go, "Oh, I want that," and then I just kept going. I was working. I think I was working nights
Mm-hmm.
at the police department dispatching. So like I had the computer set up to the side and I was just fish on and off all fucking night for at least an 8-hour shift most nights. It was ridiculous. And when I finally got it, I was just like fucking right.
Yeah. It's a good mount.
It is probably one of my favorite mounts.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's so stupid.
I love the sound it makes.
Yeah, it looks it's always so fun to go into wherever like whatever like main city it is and just get on it and just sit there and somebody will invariably get on it and then you just start doing the mount special where it goes in the shell
Yep.
and you just both sit there and just keep doing it over and over and over again and it's fun.
God, we've done that so many times. We're dorks.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're fucking dorks. But I mean, at least it's, I don't know. It's fun to be a dork. It's fun to
Anything
nerd out.
to keep you entertained in WoW. You know, like when there's, you know, like I started putting together my pet battling team so I could do strat as the dungeon, because I just didn't do any of the pet battle dungeons. And I'm like, let me go ahead and do that. So I got them all, like I have my team all set up. I'm going to go in. I'm going to do it. Just need time to do it. I don't know how long it's going to take to do it. It'll probably take a while. But I'm excited because, you know, but it's the little things, right? Like,
well, yeah. And that's the nice thing too about a game like this, right? It's not like, and this isn't anything against those other types of games, but like if you look at anything that's got just like a straight story, like Assassin's Creed, I don't know what like the side quest stuff are on there, or like God of War, or anything that's like an action game where it's got a fairly straightforward path and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's really any MMOs that are quite on rails like that. But I mean, that's the nice thing about playing an MMORPG, right? Is you got your main story stuff, but then there's just so many other ways to branch out. And it would be nice to flesh some of those branches back out, right? Like they're trying to do with professions. You know, if there was a way that you could, like, I guess Final Fantasy XIV does this a little bit, where professions are technically I guess it's job based, right?
mm-hmm. They're a job all on their own.
Right. So like your leather worker is a job, and you can just do that. You can level the max level doing all that kind of stuff. You can make money doing it and all that kind of stuff in the game. I mean, you can go on and just be the crafter. And I guess Star Wars Galaxy was like that too, right?
You can't really, though. You do have to have a combat class up to max level, because otherwise you don't have access to the new zones to get the stuff.
Well, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah. That's the only thing that's kind of frustrating with like just crafting in or just gathering in Final Fantasy.
Yeah. I guess Star Wars Galaxies would have been a better example then, because you could go in and just be a dancer, right? Or you could be a weaponsmith or whatever the hell it was, kind of thing, and that would be just what you did. And that's pretty immersive, right? You go in and you are that role, right? And that's what you do on your in-game time. And it's a bit more immersive than what we see. Like, professions in WoW are secondary, obviously, to your main class. Your main role is a champion, you know, a warrior, healer, tank, damage, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you are a combatant. And then everything else is kind of secondary. And it would be, if they continue to flesh out some of this other stuff, maybe they'll eventually put in some sort of path to have a fulfilling side job, so to speak.
Isn't that what they were going to do with that Path of the Titans or something like that?
I thought that was just like what the glyphs ended up being. I didn't think it was going to be anything.
Oh, I thought it was like an alternate way to level.
It was a whole different thing, and then it turned out to be dumbed down to glyphs.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was going to... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it was supposed to be something to enhance your character, pretty much the Azerite system, but the dumb version in Lich King. The dumber version, sorry.
Yeah. And so it ended up being glyphs, but I don't think it was ever going to be like, I don't know. All right, well, I guess that's going to about wrap it up for us tonight. We went over the story, We Ride Forth, the new short story that they just released prior to the launch of the expansion. The expansion is going to launch in a couple of days. We took a nice trip down memory lane talking about our experiences grinding in the game and just some of the stuff, I guess, related to that. thanks everyone for listening. You can check us out on Facebook. It'll be facebook.com/server restart in. Send us a tweet at server_restart, and we'll probably have another episode coming out next week. So thanks again, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.